Hello YouTube, this is Byzantine Scott. This is my first video, and as requested, I'm going to be doing a reaction to vegans or the vegan diet.
When I tell people I'm vegan, they usually react with,
Wow, really? How are you even alive?
Good question. How are you alive? What supplements are you taking that are derived from animals?
I figured why not just attempt being vegan? At least that way I can say
Well, already starting off the video with absolutely horrible anecdotes. This lady looks anemic.
I tried, and if it doesn't work out, I can feel good about myself.
Do I think that being vegan is a reasonable diet for everyone? I don't know. I took a 30-day challenge that changed my life.
If the vegan diet is the optimal diet, how could it be a challenge? Humans have a natural diet which they are accustomed to and predisposed to within our DNA and our biology. If something is hard for you in your diet, it's most definitely not natural or healthy. They look so unhealthy.
So everyone's talking about going vegan. In the span of just 3 years, veganism saw an increase of 600% in the US.
And notice how cardiovascular disease is the biggest killer. Have you ever wondered what could be confoundingly contributing to this?
That's quite massive. And while going vegan may not be
Massive?
for everybody, we actually went ahead and tried it. And man oh man, there is a difference. So let's talk about what happens to your body when you go vegan.
You die.
First off, we know that there's a whole lot of confusion surrounding veganism, so let's quickly clear that up. Replace your animal-based foods with plant-based, and voila, you're a vegan.
And you die.
Why should I go vegan, you ask? Well, there's no right answer. Some do it to improve their health, while some want to help the environment, and others just out of pure curiosity. It all
How could you improve your health on a diet that lacks 15 micronutrients? It makes no sense. And with improving the environment, let's say, yes, I'm going to stop supporting the cow industry because of how much greenhouse gases that they produce. Even though regenerative raising of cows does not emit that much, you'll still have to account for the massive amounts of carbon that you're releasing through the tons of waste you have every day, because vegans use the restroom at least 2 to 4 times a day. And it doesn't just disappear once you flush. It goes into septic tanks and processing plants where the carbon is emitted into the air.
and what you want to achieve. Keep in mind, everyone is different. No two people are going to have the exact same journey with their bodies when switching diets.
This is true, except when you eat the natural diet that humans are accustomed to, you will ultimately end up at the same place, which is health. For me, for example, I did not eat the natural diet, and I got up to 280 pounds, and I thought my life was over. But then I ate the natural diet, and now I'm to the weight that my body naturally wants and requires for things like hormone synthesis and reproducing. So yes, in a sense, but again, our genetic predispositions ultimately trump that when we have our natural diet. And our natural diet would be raw organs, raw blood, raw meat, the flesh and fat of an animal. These are things you can't live without.
So don't go screaming at me saying,
well, Karen's been like vegan for just a week and she's like super energetic now, so why does it still take me like an hour just to get out of my bed?
She might be energetic, but that would be because of the toxins in vegan food. And as we know, toxins are adrenalizing. Things like nicotine, caffeine, they give the body adrenaline because the body is being poisoned, and it's more aware, and it's trying to excrete the toxins, like cyanide, for example. Within vegan food, things like oxalates, lectins, glycoalkaloids, these are toxins that make you feel like you're adrenalized, and so it makes sense. And with the people who have no energy, they have probably a lot higher tolerance to these toxins. Maybe they have grown up on them their entire life, so that could make sense. And given the how it wrecks your insulin and your blood sugar, it makes sense for either side.
In general, people who are used to relying heavily on meat and cheese every day are most likely to see a big difference in their body.
Yes, their body is used to the most nutritious foods on the planet, and as soon as they remove those for toxic cultivated plants, they it makes sense, yeah.
When first switching to a plant-based diet, you may notice a difference in, well, your bowels. There's a very simple
This is due to the overconsumption of fiber, which makes you go to the bathroom more. And I don't know about you, but I would never want to use the bathroom that much.
explanation behind this. If you had some meat and fish for lunch, it could take as long as 2 days for your body to fully digest. But let's say you just
Fully digest in the sense that you get the right nutrients in that time. But we have to keep in mind that meat is absorbed in the small intestine and it doesn't reach the colon. And so, if we're going to talk about efficiency of digestion, meat automatically takes the win over fibrous, non-nutritious plants. And the only waste you excrete, for example, on a carnivore diet, is things like dairy, germs like bacteria, and any seasonings you might have had.
decide to have some salad for lunch. Now that'll get digested within a day. Fruits and veggies
And this is because the body is trying to excrete toxins. It's as simple as that. For example, when you consume alcohol or fructose, your body does everything it can to get rid of the alcohol and the fructose in your bloodstream by spiking insulin. Then things like glycation happen, and then it's excreted that way. And so, same thing applies here. Your body can't digest it, and it doesn't want it, and it's toxic.
and jam are high in fiber, which helps your digestive system run way more efficiently. So
No, it doesn't. It makes you go to the bathroom more. That doesn't mean efficient. That means you're pushing more things into a system, and the system has to work overtime to push them out because it can't digest it. That's not efficiency.
congratulations, you're gonna be pooping a lot more.
A good analogy would be like the best way to help efficiency at a restaurant is to give it an overload of customers. How are the systems in place and the workers supposed to handle all of them efficiently? They have to drive people away. They have to put people on wait lists. The same thing applies. The systems are not accustomed to such amounts of waste. Hence why you try to excrete it as quick as possible.
Than usual. Now, while high fiber intake means it may give you higher energy levels and keep you feeling satiated for longer, you may
You will not feel satiated on a vegan diet. Look at the satiety index. The highest things on the satiety index are things like fats and proteins. This is false. Your stomach may feel full, but your brain will not feel satisfied because it is not getting fat, because the receptors in your stomach are not sensing any micronutrients. This is called the gut-brain axis. So you're just filling your stomach up with waste product. It's like, oh man, eat a ton of sawdust, you'll feel so full. That doesn't say anything. Your stomach is just, it's being stretched out, and you like can't physically put more in. Whereas with meat, you don't have to eat that much and you're full for hours in stable energy.
Also feel a lot hungrier. Like we said, a lot of meat and dairy products typically have high caloric values, and vegan diet ordinarily consists of less calorically dense foods.
Humans cannot consume calories. We are not a closed system. We are an open enzymatic system, which means we use enzymes to absorb macronutrients. Calories are a heat energy unit. They're calculated by a bomb calorimeter where they're placed in it and essentially bombed, exploded. And then the amount of heat, they measure that and they apply it to to food so we can and somehow it applies to us even though we don't bomb our food in our stomach, we enzymatically absorb.
So this may result in some weight loss. On the other hand, if you begin to overcompensate this calorie deficit by consuming a lot of carbs to replace that meat and dairy, you may notice a weight gain.
Lots of it will be glycation and excess fiber stuck in the gut and the colon. But you will certainly not retain fat for long. The fat that you will have when you start is going to be used because your body needs fat.
Here's another thing that will blow your mind. After a few weeks of going vegan, you may notice your taste buds changing. Yeah, your taste. One study showed that after switching to a low-fat diet, such as a vegan diet, people's taste sensitivity increased towards foods high in fat, salt, or sugar. So veganism may...
This is because they are starving themselves. They're putting themselves in a situation of famine. And so it makes sense when they go back and try those foods that they taste better or they have a stronger taste because you're not eating food that your biology craves. You can taste the micronutrients, the 15 essential micronutrients. It's not just this random flavor, you're craving the nutrients. And so it makes sense.
can help you curb your cravings because you can't handle the fatty, sugary taste of junk food.
You're probably going to curb your cravings because of how disgusting your food is. No one wants to shove their face full of fiber and sugar and anti-nutrients. It's disgusting. This is why people gag when they try to eat an onion, for example. It's toxic and gross.
Another great outcome some have spoken about is improved skin health. However, this has not
Anecdote. Proof. Where's the proof?
been proven by scientific
Exactly.
studies, so if you do experience it, that's a plus. In the long run,
You will not experience that because you're lacking vitamin A, D, E, and K2. For example, vitamin A, if you deplete yourself in it, your skin will become pale and almost disgusting looking, as for the girl in the first clip, and you can become anemic. I don't know where this lie was spread.
studies have shown that a vegan diet may help those with diseases or conditions like arthritis, high blood pressure, heart disease, and diabetes.
How so? When you eat a vegan diet, you're constantly spiking your insulin. How could that improve diabetes? That makes no sense. And with the cardiovascular disease, let's take India, for example. India eats about 99% meat in their diet. They have about 2 kilograms of meat per year. Very low. And I understand that there's confounding factors. They live in a terrible living situation. But ultimately, when it comes to our heart health, diet matters most. And so the Indian population eats essentially a vegan diet with the exception of meat once or twice per year. And they have the highest rate of cardiovascular disease in the world. How would that help? You have no dietary cholesterol, to heal the inflammation, if any, in your arteries, that would not improve anything.
which could less visits to the doctor. But
False. Any vegan, at least for me that I know and see on the internet, they are obsessed with health. They are obsessed with what's in my food. They go to the doctor all the time and they're constantly appealing to their audience about their diet. So that's completely false.
on the other hand, due to lower levels of calcium consumption, vegans are more at risk of bone fractures than non
This is because they're lacking an essential micronutrient. Simple as that.
vegans. But don't worry, we have a bunch of vegan alternatives for that.
Yes. Calcium rich vegan foods. For example, kiwis and those green leaves have oxalates, which will directly bind to the calcium and make them useless. And then your body has to have a mechanism of dumping those oxalates. And when you consume more than 20 milligrams a day, your body has to dump them through kidneys, through your joints, through your eyes, and through your thyroid. And so not only are you not getting calcium, you're getting oxalate crystals in your organs, in your joints, which causes arthritis, and it causes blindness, and it causes thyroid eye, and you get endocrine disruption, and about 80% of kidney stones are from oxalic acid.
Now let's talk about your mental health. There are some
And another thing is that the overconsumption of plant vitamin C, like that of a vegan, will also end up in oxalates, because when you have excess vitamin C, the liver processes it into oxalic acid. So you're getting a double whammy of oxalates and destroying your body.
linked to mental well-being that are only available naturally in animal products.
As I said, 15 micronutrients.
Vitamin B12 helps to regulate your mood. Omega-3 fatty acids help with brain function. Amino acids make up neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, which are the happy hormones. So if you're on a vegan diet, make sure you find alternative sources of food that can help with healthy brain function.
You can't make your brain function correctly without fat, the flesh and fat of an animal, and the organs. It's impossible.
It may be ideal to change your food habits gradually instead of overnight. Take it one.
And if it's natural or healthy for humans to eat vegan, then you should be able to just instantly switch to it and immediately start to notice benefits.
Meal or even one ingredient at a time. And here's our final food for thought. If you want to go vegan, the key is to replace foods from your previous diet and never eliminate them.
What?
Change your food habits gradually instead of overnight. Take it one meal or even one ingredient at a time. And here's our final food for thought. If you want to go vegan, the key is to replace foods from your previous diet and never eliminate them.
By definition, it's an elimination diet. Just like the fake carnivores. They eliminate a lot of toxins, which I commend them for that, and I was at that point last year. But this makes no sense. Well, that was a terrible video. I don't know why this person is trying to vindicate veganism while also saying that you need nutrients that you can only get from animals. It makes no sense. And the last thing I'll say is that if you're having struggles with your health, I suggest that you follow the natural diet, which is raw organs, raw meat, some dairy if you're young, and some fruits in the summer. And this is highly indicated and optimal for the human body. And just to share my personal story, if I haven't mentioned it already, I got up to about 280 pounds of processed seed oil, slime, and sugar. And I was at the lowest point of my life. I was depressed, I was sick and unhappy, and I hated myself. And about a year ago now, I started the fake cooked carnivore diet, and this vastly changed my health. I lost about 90 pounds at the peak of my weight loss. My biomarkers improved, my sleep is better, my energy levels are through the roof, and I am 1,000% happier than I was a year ago. And not to mention, my skin has cleared up, my hair looks healthier, my posture is fixed, I don't get sunburned anymore, and all of these things you can get and attain by eating the natural human diet. And the last thing I'll say is go vegan and die.